So we continue our tour around the most recent Herpa Wings 737 MAX releases, and this time we focus on this Icelandair model, which we can do thanks to the great prices of the FMB shop, and you can find a link to them in the video description below. And with that, hello and welcome to a new episode of Review, where we today will take a closer look at a Boeing 737 MAX8 of Icelandair. At the front of the box we have a cutout so we can get a glimpse of the aircraft model inside, and on top of the box we have the Icelandair branding. The backside of the box well shows the full creative potential of Herpa Wings. I mean, I'm just kidding. They switched out the Herpa red at the bottom of the box with this bright yellow, and that's all what they could come up with for this box. And here she is, the Boeing 737 MAX8 in the new standard livery of Icelandair, but this time with the bright yellow tail design. We have of course also recently reviewed the Icelandair 737 MAX8 with the light blue tail design, and if you want to check that out, you can feel free to do so. It should pop up in the top right corner right now, or you can find a link to it in the video description below. But for today we focus on this aircraft model to see what it has to offer, and the best way to do so is by taking a look at the tail section, where we on the vertical stabilizer have of course this bright yellow stripe and the Icelandair branding. On the fuselage we then have the full registration code of the aircraft and the Icelandic flag. On top of the fuselage we then have the addition of a set dome, which is lovely that they have done so, but unfortunately Herpa has, well, been a bit too generous with the size of that, as it is rather oversized. And then towards the very tail of the aircraft we also have a bit of detailing around the APU exhaust. At the front of the aircraft and across the fuselage we then have the branding of Icelandair, now in this billboard style. We of course also find a few static ports printed on the side here of the fuselage, and then underneath the cockpit windows we have the name of the aircraft, which I will not try to pronounce. And that leads us to the cockpit section itself, where we have the cockpit windows with the window wipers. And as always, a rather lovely shaped cockpit section. The 737 mold of Herpa Wings is generally really good, and also in this case. Then we can move on to the engine nacelles, which have been kept in this dark blue of the Icelandair color scheme, giving a nice contrast to the otherwise rather white fuselage. We find the silver leading edge has been printed on, as well as some safety markings, so that's quite lovely. What is also quite nice is the physical detailing with the chevron nozzles, and here from the front with the engine fan blades. Then on the fuselage, just above the wings, we find the emergency exits have been printed on, which leads us straight to the wings, which we should also take a closer look at, starting off with the top side, where we can see the different flap slats and spoilers have been carved out, although that could definitely have been more pronounced. It's drowning away a little bit in the color here. But we do find the markings for the emergency exits have been printed on, so that's quite lovely. The underside of the wings offers more nice physical detailing, and we find the full registration code of the aircraft once again. And then the 737 MAX of course also has these winglets, which in my opinion are still too bulky here from Herpa Wings. They should be a little bit narrower, a little bit more refined, but that's what Herpa does. But we do find the Icelandair branding printed on, and that looks pretty decent. When we look at the landing gear, we see that is the standard landing gear that Herpa is still using with the 737 MAX, which overall looks quite alright, but is a bit too tall. Well, technically it's not. Technically it's the correct height, but it just looks too tall. Herpa has announced that they want to adjust this, but unfortunately these changes have come a bit too early for this aircraft model to have them implemented. And what is also a letdown is the fact that we don't have any printed details around the front landing gear. Then on the belly of the aircraft we find a hole in the fuselage for a stand, which is not included with this aircraft model, making it rather pointless, but at least it doesn't destroy any printed details, so I guess we just have to live with it. And then last but not least, we do also have the doors to the cargo compartments printed on here at the back of the aircraft and here at the front of the aircraft. So there we have it, the Boeing 737 MAX8 in the new standard livery of Icelandair with the bright yellow tail from Herpa Wings in scale 1 to 500. And what can we say about this aircraft model? So the model does still have the typical Herpa weaknesses of a 737 MAX, so still the slightly too tall landing gear, the too bulky winglets, the oversized set dome, and the nonsensical hole in the fuselage for a stand, which is not included with the aircraft model. This might now sound like this is a terrible model, but actually I don't think so. I think actually it is a pretty lovely aircraft model. The 737 mold of Herpa Wings is really, really good. The print quality that we have on this aircraft model is also excellent. Sure, there could always be more details, but at least we have a few details here and there, you know, some markings on the engines or some static ports on the fuselage. So the overall look and feel of this aircraft model is actually, I think, pretty all right. Now, when it comes to the look of the livery, that is a somewhat controversial topic, I guess. Some people really do like the new livery, some really don't. And I guess that's always a question of personal taste. But if you do like the new Icelandair livery, then I would say yes, it is an aircraft worth having in one's collection, despite the, well, still typical Herpa weaknesses of the 737 MAX. The only really major headache I have is the official retail price of Herpa Wings, which is at an astronomical 35 euros. So don't buy it at that price. Find a retailer that sells it at a discount, because it is not worth 35 euros. And with that, we have reached the end of today's episode. If you have enjoyed this video, then don't forget to leave a like, and if you are new around here, you're always welcome to hit subscribe. With that, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.